Hello and welcome to Salt and Light's presentation of the Angelus for Sunday, February 17th. An estimated 80,000 faithful are present in St. Peter's Square for the second last Angelus of the Pontificate. It will be a week before we see the Holy Father again, as later today he's going to be beginning his week-long Lenten retreat with members of the Roman Curia. The retreat is going to be led by Cardinal Gianfranco Ravasi, who is the head of the Pontifical Council for Culture. Because of the retreat, there will be no public appointments this week for the Holy Father until Saturday the 23rd, when the retreat concludes that morning, and then the Pope will be meeting with the Italian President, Giorgio Napolitano. The Pope will recite his final Angelus on February 24th, once again in St. Peter's Square, which we can expect will be even more packed than it is today. The following day, on the 25th, the Pope will be having some private meetings with cardinals from the Roman Curia, and the very last public event will be on February 27th, and that is the final general audience, which has been moved into St. Peter's Square to accommodate the large crowds that are expected of faithful who want to see Pope Benedict for one last time before he retires. His retirement technically takes place the following day, on the 28th. In the morning, the Pope will be having a special farewell meeting with members of the College of Cardinals. It's an occasion for the Pope to thank cardinals, not any particular kind of ceremony. And then around 5 p.m., the Pope will be flying by helicopter to Castel Gandolfo. Castel Gandolfo is normally his summer residence. It's just southeast of Rome, and he will be staying there until the remodeling is finished at the Mater Ecclesia Monastery within the Vatican Gardens. Salt and Light Television, of course, will be broadcasting the final Angelus and the final general audience. You can find broadcast times, as well as a look back on the papacy of Benedict XVI at saltandlighttv.org/B16. Of course, Salt and Light will be covering the events surrounding the beginning of the conclave. Certainly a very rare occasion to be speaking of a conclave when the Pope is still alive. No Pope has resigned in almost 600 years. At least 4 popes have resigned, possibly as high as 10. The numbers are disputed, since we're going back to very ancient history.
Segue questa bella tradizione di accompagnare il Santo Padre nella settimana degli esercizi spirituali,
Benedict XVI was the 265th Pope. 78 years old, he was the oldest Pope elected in 275 years. Now he is aged 85. He was the first German Pope in nearly 1,000 years. Already the cardinals around the world are making plans to come to Rome for the conclave. As well, many of them will want to participate in that final general audience and be present for the Pope's private farewell meeting with the cardinals on the 28th. There will be 117 members of the conclave to elect the next Pope. These are all the cardinals who are under 80 years of age, and now we see the Holy Father has arrived.
Questo Angelus con Papa Benedetto XVI.
Dear brothers and sisters, last Wednesday, with the traditional rite of ashes, we entered into Lent, a time of conversion and penance in preparation for Easter. The Church, which is mother and teacher, calls all its members to be renewed in the Spirit, to reorient closely to God, denying pride and selfishness, in order to live in love. In this year of faith, Lent is a favorable time to rediscover faith in God as a criterion and foundation of our life and the life of the Church. This always involves a battle, a spiritual battle, because the spirit of evil naturally opposes our sanctification and seeks to make us deviate from the path of God. Every year on this, the first Sunday of Lent, the gospel proclaimed is of Jesus' temptations in the desert. Jesus, in fact, after being anointed as the Messiah by the Holy Spirit at the baptism in the Jordan, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. As he began his public ministry, Jesus had to expose and reject the false image of Messiah that the tempter offered him. But these temptations are also false images of man, which throughout the ages undermine our conscience, disguised as convenient and effective, even good proposals. The evangelists Matthew and Luke have three temptations of Jesus, varying in part only in the order. Their core is always to exploit God for their own ends, giving more importance to success or material goods. The tempter is subtle. He does not push us directly to evil, but to a false good, making believe that the true realities are power and what satisfies our basic needs. In this way, God becomes secondary, is reduced to a means, ultimately becomes unreal. He no longer matters and thus vanishes. Ultimately, in all temptations, our faith is at stake, because God is at stake. In the decisive moments of life, but in hindsight, in every moment, we are at a crossroads. Do we want to follow our ego or God, our individual interests or the true good, what really is good? As the fathers of the Church teach us, temptations are part of the descent of Jesus into our human condition, into the abyss of sin and its consequences. A descent that Jesus followed until the very end, until death on the cross and the underworld of extreme separation from God. In this way, He is the hand that God has tended to man, to the lost sheep, to bring him to safety. As St. Augustine teaches us, Jesus took up the burden of temptations from us to give us victory. We therefore should not be afraid to also face the battle against the spirit of evil. The important thing is that we do it with Him, the victor, and to be with Him, turning to the Mother, Mary. Let us invoke her with filial trust in times of trial, and she will draw upon the powerful presence of her divine Son to reject the temptations with the word of Christ, and thus put God at the center of our lives.
Ansius Domini nunciavit Mariae, et concepit Spiritus Sancto. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ecce ancilla Domini.
Fiat mihi secundum verbum tuum.
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Et verbum caro factum est.
Et habitavit in nobis.
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ora pro nobis Sancta Dei Genitrix.
Udini ficiamo promissionibus Christi.
Oremus, gratiam tuum quesimus Domine, mentibus nostris infunde, ut qui angelum nuntiante, Christi Filii tu incarnatione coniovimus, per passionem eius et crucem, ad resurrectionis gloriam perducamur, per undem Christum Dominum nostrum.
Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancti.
Sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancti.
Sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancti.
Sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Pro fidelibus defunctis requiem aeternam dona eis Domine.
Et lux perpetua luceat eis.
Requiescant in pace.
Amen.
Sit nomen Domini benedictum.
Ex hoc nunc et usque in saeculum.
Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.
Qui feci celum et terram.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.
Amen.
Grazie. Grazie. Grazie a tutti voi.
The Holy Father will now greet French-speaking pilgrims.
Est une invitation à donner davantage de temps à Dieu dans la prière, la lecture de sa parole et les sacrements. Par le jeûne, nous apprendrons à ne pas négliger la véritable nourriture spirituelle pour résister aux tentations de l'indifférence et du laisser-aller, de l'égoïsme, de l'orgueil, de l'argent et du pouvoir. Méditons la manière dont Jésus a surmonté les tentations et demandons-lui la force de lutter contre le mal. Que ce carême soit pour chacun le chemin d'une authentique conversion à Dieu, un temps de partage intense de notre foi en Jésus-Christ. Je vous remercie de votre prière et je vous demande de m'accompagner spirituellement durant les exercices spirituels qui commenceront ce soir. Je vous bénis tous de grand cœur. I greet also English-speaking visitors and pilgrims present for today's Angelus. Today we contemplate Christ in the desert, fasting, praying, and being tempted. As we begin our Lenten journey, we join him and we ask him to give us strength to fight our weaknesses. Let me also thank you for the prayers and support you have shown me in these days. May God bless all of you. The
Holy Father now greets German-speaking pilgrims.
Die Lesungen des Evangeliums des heutigen Sonntags stellen uns vor Augen, dass der Mensch sich oft unwürdig und bedürftig empfindet, wenn er Gott gegenübersteht. Und er ist es ja auch. Aber der Herr kommt dem Sünder entgegen und erneuert ihn. Suchen wir also immer wieder die Begegnung mit Christus, aus der wir Nahrung und Orientierung für unsere Aufgaben in der Welt schöpfen können. Ich danke euch vor allem für die zahlreichen Beweise eurer Verbundenheit und für euer Gebet in diesen für mich schwierigen Tagen. Ich bitte euch, von mir und der römischen Kurie, besonders in der heute beginnenden Woche nahe zu sein, während wir unsere alljährlichen Exerzitien beginnen. Der Heilige Geist begleitet uns alle auf unserem geistlichen Weg in der Fastenzeit. Saluto cordialmente a los peregrinos de lengua española.
The Pope now greets Spanish-speaking pilgrims.
En particular al grupo del Colegio Sacerdotal Argentino de Roma. En esta cuaresma pidamos al Señor que la contemplación de los misterios de su pasión, muerte y resurrección nos ayude a seguirlo más de cerca. Al mismo tiempo, de corazón agradezco a todos su oración y afecto en estos días. Os suplico que continuéis rezando por mí y por el próximo Papa, así como por los ejercicios espirituales que empezaré esta tarde junto a los miembros de la Curia Romana. Llenos de fe y esperanza, encomendemos la Iglesia a la maternal protección de María Santísima. Muchas gracias.
The Pope now welcomes Polish-speaking pilgrims.
Serdecznie pozdrawiam was wszystkich, którzy uczestniczycie w modlitwie anioł-pańskiej. Dziękuję bardzo za modlitewne wsparcie i duchową bliskość w tych szczególnych dniach dla Kościoła i dla mnie. Dzisiaj Ewangelia okazuje nam Chrystusa kuczonego na pustyni przez szatana. Umocnieni łaską Bożego Syna umiemy zwyciężać zło serwać, a szechem służyć tylko Bogu samemu. Waszym modlitwom polecam rekolekcje, które dzisiaj rozpoczniemy w Watykanie. Serce wam błogosławię.
And finally, the Pope has a welcome for Italian-speaking pilgrims.
Grazie a voi. Grazie, svenuti così numerosi, grazie. Grazie. La vostra presenza è un segno dell'affetto e della vicinanza spirituale che mi state manifestando in questi giorni e sono profondamente grato. Saluto in particolare l'amministrazione di Roma Capitale guidata dal sindaco e con lui saluto e ringrazio tutti gli abitanti di questa amata città di Roma. Saluto i fedeli delle diocesi di Verona, quelli di Nettuno, di Massa Annunziata e della parrocchia romana di Santa Maria Iano a Celi, come pure i ragazzi di Serenio e di Brescia. A tutti auguro una buona domenica, un buon cammino di Quaresima. Questa sera inizierò la settimana di esercizi spirituali. Rimaniamo uniti nella preghiera. Buona settimana per tutti voi, grazie.
And we see the 80,000 faithful who have gathered in St. Peter's Square to recite the Angelus and to say goodbye to the Holy Father as he prepares for his retirement. The Holy Father dedicated his message before reciting the Angelus to Jesus' temptation in the desert. And he spoke of our own temptations. And how we ourselves should not be afraid also to face the battle against the spirit of evil, but that it is important that we do so with him and with the intercession of the Virgin Mary. The Holy Father, speaking in various languages after reciting the Angelus, took the opportunity to thank pilgrims for their prayers and support that they have shown him over the past several days. And in Italian, the Holy Father mentioned that he will be going into his Lenten spiritual retreat, which starts later today, and he asked that the faithful would be united with him in prayer. The next public event for the Holy Father will be the Angelus 1 week from today, which Salt and Light once again will be broadcasting in English at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And after that, there is just one more public event, and that is the Pope's General Audience, also to take place in St. Peter's Square on Wednesday, February 27th. Go to saltandlighttv.org/B16 for broadcast information, as well as a look back on some of the highlights of this pontificate. Thank you for joining us for Salt and Light's presentation of the Angelus. Have a wonderful Sunday.